Hi, I'm Kathy Callahan Brady, and welcome to In the Trenches. Today we've got a very special guest. This is Jonathan Boehman, correct? From Immersion Action.
Immersion Active.
Active. I'm always sort of kind of close.
That's all right. We get it all the time.
Exactly. Thank you for coming.
Sure thing. It's great to be here.
So this segment gives me a couple opportunities. One, to completely go off script, which everyone knows I do. But really the big part is to give me an opportunity to thank you. You have been tremendous. I mean, just with the whole EDGE group, with our accelerator, I think you're the one advisor who's shown up pretty close to every single time, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Well, it's been awesome to do. Great experience for me. So I told one of the participants the other night, I get so much out of it being there. It's very fulfilling for me. So it's it goes both ways. For sure.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you see that. I think most of the advisors really do see that. I remember at one point when I was looking for individuals like yourself to help advise the company, somebody said, how are you going to convince these very busy founders and CEOs to take time? I went, if they're like me, and everybody is, we get so much out of it. I'd rather just do this than all the other stuff. But anyways, we digress. Absolutely. And now you're on our Team T or E, one or the other.
I think I'm on both. We're trying out both.
Yeah,
right?
See which one makes...
But they've both been fun so far.
I know.
Yeah.
They're all fun. See, I get to go to all of them, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you for that. What you've done is just tremendous, and so I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
But tell us a little bit about Immersion Active. You were the founder.
I was one of the co-founders.
Co-founders. Recently have exited.
That's right.
But still with them.
Yep.
So tell us more.
Yeah, so about 21 years ago, my business partner David and I founded the company. And it was, we can talk a little bit about that journey if you want, as you want to ask me questions, but it was about 3.5 years ago that we sold to one of our bigger clients. And so now we serve both them and a variety of other clients. So it's a pretty unusual setup. The company as a whole focuses on helping companies who are looking to connect with older adults online. So it started off as a traditional kind of marketing agency, advertising agency, evolved to be strictly digital, and then we focused on older adults. So right now the focus has gone even further, and we work a lot in what I'd say kind of the property development realm. So a lot of our clients are active adult communities for like 55 plus, senior living communities, and we still do quite a bit of work for other companies like some health and wellness companies. Anybody who's really saying, I need to message this group differently, because what we found and why we specialize this in the first place is it's a really ignored audience. Like back when the baby boomers in particular were young, everybody was focused on them, and they're like, oh, baby boomers. Right. And then as they aged, they were kind of forgotten about by the marketers on Madison Avenue who just wanted to target the younger audience. And so we said, hey, well, they're being ignored. That's an opportunity for us. Yep. And so we really leaned in there and started to develop an expertise around that. And that was probably about 11 years ago, I'd say. I'm probably getting that wrong.
That's fine. We won't hold you to it. But why this particular business? I mean, was there a passion behind it? Was there something that, I mean, there's always a why behind a certain business. I'm always curious about that. Yeah,
and it changed very much over time, I would say. I mean, over 21 years, it ought to, I would say. But when I started the business, I was 25. I had,
you knew everything at that point.
That's right. I had barely any workplace experience, but I knew everything.
Of course, we always do.
Yeah, and it was just this feeling of like, oh, we can do this so much better. My business partner and I, we would get together, our off hours, and it was the early days of the web, so we would kind of geek out on different things and say, we want to be doing this stuff, and we can do this so much better, and so we just started off in his basement, bought all the equipment that we needed, all the software that we needed, and just scrapped at it like one client at a time. He actually kept his day job for about a year, but I just went went in full time. I asked my dad, can I live here while I start this, you know? And, you know, he was really, both my parents were supportive of that at the time. So that was a nice option to have, you know. Not a lot of people, you know, I didn't have to live in a 200 square foot apartment or anything like that. So that was the next year, I think, I did that. But yeah, it was great. So we just kind of went in and slowly built over time. I think at our largest, we were at about 30 people, and there's been swings, and we're around that number right now. Again, as, you know, with recessions and everything, you tend to dip a little bit, and that's part of being a business owner, right?
Yeah, boy, that's for sure. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned over that? I mean, because at 25, of course, we know you knew it all, but now, 20 years later, looking back, what would you tell your 25-year-old self with what you know now? What would you do differently?
Yeah. Well, you know, what's really interesting is there are so many different kinds of resources out there right now, and they'll be different in another 20 years, I'm sure, but with all the lean startup material and that attitude of, you know, love the problem, not the solution. When you think you have it all figured out, you can be very blind when you make mistakes. And I think we were really hard workers, and I think we were talented too. So a lot, but when you have just talent and you're not listening to maybe market signals, blood, sweat, and tears can get you through a lot. But the big advice really that I would say there, back to my future self, is like, you gotta like look at every experience that you have when something doesn't go right, and you don't want to make that mistake again. But to do that, you can't just say, well, I won't make that mistake again, because it's not going to be the exact same situation. So you got to get really good at looking at why didn't that work in the first place, and looking inward and being really honest with yourself. If you have a business partner, you know, with your business partner, and being able to build on that and move forward. And I think we got better at that over time. And, you know, we were, probably there were cases where we were lucky to like not have something put us under. But like I said, we were always really hard workers, so we were like, this isn't gonna knock us down. You know? We're gonna keep going. But that whole attitude of looking at looking at what you did wrong, and really understanding and kind of bringing things back to what is the problem that we're really trying to solve here. So, and that goes back to the lean startup thing. It is so huge. Yeah, it's easy to fall in love with an idea.
Boy, that's for sure.
And as entrepreneurs, we have
do.
Lots of ideas
every other day.
It's really easy to become blinded to how cool something sounds, because nobody's honest with you about like their feedback on things. You know, the market's honest, but your parents aren't going to be. You know, they're going to be, oh, that sounds great. You know, and you know your friends are going to be like, sure, and the people that work for you even sometimes are like, sure. So unless you really put a process in place to be able to analyze, like, what are we really doing here? Why are we doing it? That's what I would do differently, because I think we would have grown so much faster with that approach.
Yeah, I think these accelerators are really teaching me that as well, even more. I mean, I always knew it. You know how that is? You know it, but then you don't really know it. So, I mean, how many entrepreneurs jump out there and they go, oh, yeah, this is great, and everybody's going to buy it, but they've never even asked anybody whether they'd really be interested or not. But hey, they got the website and everything's perfect. So now we have a business, right?
That's right. If we build it, they will come, right?
No, that's not true.
Yeah, that's not true.
Yeah, definitely. So at 25, you decided, what, 20 years later, you were just going to sell the business and it was going to work out perfect?
Yeah, so it was
that was the plan?
Well, no, you know, I mean, I think... you know, you kind of go on journeys throughout your life, and so when I started, I didn't have kids, I wasn't married, and my business partner was in a very different position. He was married and he had 2 very young kids. Not sure I could do that, kind of same thing. So kudos to him for, you know, having enough entrepreneurial spirit to do that when he had babies in the house, and we just got kind of to a point. We had always talked about what's the beginning, the middle, and the end.
Right.
And so as we got kind of toward a certain point, we started having discussions about do we want to stay in this? Do we want to do something else? It's tiring to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And we said we wanted to build a company that was, if we built a company worth selling, we would have a company worth keeping. But we always kind of kept the option, we could keep the option in our pocket. And an opportunity arose with our now parent company, which is called Homestead Senior Care. They're one of our bigger clients, and just a great values fit. I mean, the founders of that company are amazing people. They've grown their franchise system to be the largest non-medical in-home care company in the world. They're in like 16 countries or something like that. And they've done so well, but they're the kind of people that like sit down, like have a beer with you and like have a sandwich somewhere and just chat with you like real people. They actually care about all the employees, and when you think about the whole franchise system, there's about 70,000 of them.
Wow.
But they have real hearts, and so that was a real important thing to us. We didn't want to just sell to get out.
Right.
It was, and it was to be able to do something a little greater. So for us, it helped us offer more benefits to our employees, kind of gave us an interesting mix of like the best of like a bigger company and then the culture of a smaller company. So that's a really nice mix.
Because you're still with them, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm still with them 3.5 years later. So it's been a really good ride and a good decision. And at the end of the day, we can go home and say we worked on something important and it's helping people. And so that I think was another part of it. It wasn't just like how can we squeeze as much money out of and as much profit out of this as possible.
So it was a win-win across. Did any of your employees leave? Are they all pretty much with you?
Let me think back here. Over time, I mean, 3.5 years, certainly the company looks pretty different right now, I would say. But there still is a kind of a core group of people that have been there since the beginning. But we had to also build out new talent to be able to service our parent company in a different way. The group that I run there now is the innovation group. So we're kind of the de facto innovation team for our parent company. And they really valued having us outside of their company, across the country, to be able to kind of keep a good perspective on the business.
And what does that actually mean? I mean, what do you do for the main company? Coming up with the creative new ideas?
Yeah, so without getting into specifics, and you may be familiar with how innovation teams work at different companies, and there's a lot of different functions they can play. And so we've actually tried a few. And said, hey, the organization's not ready for us to be a skunk works. So we kind of started off as, just building stuff. But there's always a resistance, I'd say not always, but probably like 99% of the time from what I hear from other people that work in this field. There's a resistance between kind of like the operational side of things and an innovation team until it takes time to figure it out. Like, how are we going to work together? How are we going to not step on each other's toes? Do you work on stuff that's down the road? Are you duplicating efforts that that I'm working on right now? And so we kind of saw like, hey, there's more change that needs to kind of go on here. So we stepped back and went into a model where we are kind of empowering the people that are in the organization, not empowering them so much as helping them advance their ideas.
Sure.
And so we're there as a resource to be able to help them look and say, okay, what problem are you really trying to solve?
Right.
And really boil that down. And then let's figure out how we're going to measure this. How are we going to know that's true? And then how are we going to run some real rapid tests so that you don't go down the road of, I have the perfect solution for this. And then a year later, you've rolled something out to a huge company and it's not doing the job. And that's easy. It's easy for that to happen, even if the solutions check a lot of the boxes. Sure. So we try to help people with both of the stuff that's what we'd say incremental. So changes to processes and the current way of doing things, to kind of more evolutionary and disruptive ideas. So they're going to be like, how are we going to replace what we're doing now with the next offering? And there can be some tension around that kind of thing.
Of course.
Because they're like, oh, we're going to butcher the business. And, well, are we going to do that, or is somebody else going to do that to us? So I'd rather be in control of that journey.
Yeah, no kidding.
Making the next thing.
No kidding.
So that's what we do. We try to,
Okay.
but we try to really lean in there and help people with their ideas, because it's a network of there's 700 franchise owners.
Oh, good night.
And these guys are all and women are all entrepreneurs, and they've got ideas that they want to try out.
Right.
You know, and they're in a franchise system.
Right.
So it's a, there's a formula, but when you want to step outside that formula, we're kind of like a way they can step outside of the formula and try new things.
Yeah.
So that's always really exciting, because we get to work with all these different.
Exactly. That's right up your alley, too, as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
Now I get why you like the strategizer, the business model canvas so much, and why you guys
Yeah.
were using it.
Yeah.
It fits perfect in
Yeah,
that.
it's a great tool.
Yeah. So I could go on, and people will disconnect, but hey, we can still keep having a good time talking. But I know we need to wrap it up.
Sure.
Is there any piece of advice that you'd like to leave an entrepreneur with, your 25-year-old, or a book or a quote or something that kind of has inspired you?
Yeah. Oh, there's been tons of things. So I'll mention a couple really quick. And I mentioned earlier the quote from Ash Maurya, love the problem, not the solution.
Right.
So his book is Running Lean, and he is scaling lean now too. And that's a really important thing to kind of absorb, I think, as a young entrepreneur. And it kind of goes in line with something that Steve Jobs really said, is like, you got to kind of start with the customer experience, not with the technology, because you can't kind of force the technology into, serving the
Right.
customer. He inherently understood a lot of that without using the same words as I think we're using in the innovation space now. So I think that's why he had a lot of success. But maybe one of the last things I would say is for any young entrepreneur, is learning how to manage people. Because when you're 25 and you got this great idea and you hire your first employee, they don't come with a manual.
Right.
But there are good resources out
Right.
there. So a book that I read a little later into my journey was called Managing Right for the First Time. And it's by a gentleman named David C. Baker, who we've used as a consultant over the years. And he just is like one of the smartest guys that I've met. But it was just an amazingly helpful book to kind of relate in my field that I was in, with a lot of creative people. And then you had the account side of things, so all these different personalities.
Is he local?
He's not. He's out of Nashville. But and it's not like a super well-known book, I would say.
No, I've never heard of it
He
before.
self-publishes. He's got his own book label and everything. And
The only problem with these interviews is you guys come up with the most interesting books, and then it's like, Amazon, here I come again.
yeah, you can't read everything that people tell you about, though.
Yeah, I know, I'm obsessed,
I can't.
though.
But that's a good one for a young person starting a business.
Yeah.
I don't think I even have my copy anymore, because I've loaned it out and not gotten it back.
Very cool. Well, great. Thank you again for everything, and I think we're going to be seeing you again here very, very soon.
Yep, sounds
I
good.
don't remember which one, T or the Edge, one of them.
One of them.
But yeah, thank you again.
Absolutely, it's been great.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for watching, and come check out FITCI.org so you can meet the rest of our advisors and get to know kind of behind the scenes of FITCI. Have a great day.